Oh yeah.
What up, America? Contradictions. We're back, baby, live and direct. So happy Veterans Day. Happy belated Marine Corps birthday to all my brothers out there and sisters. Appreciate you serving, ones that are still serving and deployed protecting us, and the ones that are retired or veterans. We appreciate y'all. Let's bring in my fellow Marine, Kenny. What's up, brother?
What up, what up, what up? Happy Veterans Day, everybody. Represent my happy birthday to my Marine Corps brothers and sisters. Belated for them, and happy Veterans Day to everybody out there serving in the past and currently.
Let's bring in Glennon. Glennon, congratulations, brother.
Yes, appreciate it. Yeah, man, got the little one actually rocking away right there in the little glider back there sliding. Yeah, man, and happy Veterans Day again to everybody that served, to everybody who's planning on serving. I come from a huge military family. My father served. My uncle is a general in the Air Force. My little brother's in the Navy currently right now. Army, Marines, all branches in my family. So definitely happy Veterans Day. Yeah, man, let's go ahead and kick this thing off. Happy Wednesday as well, or happy hump day.
Yeah, so we got a lot to talk about, a lot to discuss. So let's go into our first topic at hand tonight. Is the election over? Are ballots still being counted? What the hell is going on? Who wants to?
I think the entire thing was a debacle, kind of to begin with, just in the sense that, and let's be clear about something: mail-in ballots or absentee ballots, rather, mail-in voting. There's so many different terms that have recently been associated with this whole thing. They've been a part of the election process for over a century now. It's nothing new. I think the one thing that is new is because we are in a pandemic, and also I want people to understand this. States were allowed to implement their ruling as they so please. So it's not like a federal thing. It's not like a nationwide thing. It was a per state thing. So I just wanted to be clear on that. And so some states, some states that require specific criteria, like you had to be sick or you had to be serving in the military. There were other states that required that you just be a registered voter. Some states require that some states have certain like age specifications, like if you're an elderly person and things like that. And let's be honest, in the past, majority of mail-in ballots that were sent in were for absentee ballots, right? People that may have a primary residence, say in New Jersey, but are in Florida during the time of the election, that sort of thing. That's really what it's been used for. And we all know that, if you want to categorize it or say what the left side is saying or what the right side is saying, we all know that the left side is saying that because of the coronavirus pandemic, a lot of the states were more, I guess, lenient, if you will, in terms of how they were handling or dealing with absentee or mail-in ballots. Let's not get them confused because there is a difference there. But fundamentally, they're the same thing. And we can get it. There's a checks and balances system as well.
All absentee ballots are mail-in, but not all mail-in ballots
are absentee. Yeah, exactly. There you go. Yeah. So this thing, and I'm sure we're going to dig into it. I've got a lot of information here, but there's nothing wrong with mail-in ballots. There's nothing wrong with absentee ballots. I came across some articles where it was saying that, there's in certain states, there's been more ballots counted than registered voters in that state. That, as of right now, is an allegation. Haven't found that to be true. What I have found to be true is that because people brought up like double, there could potentially be,
I think we
double counting and things like that. Yeah, that's all been debunked. There's ways, and if you want to dig into it, we can. I've got the info of specifically how it works. But there's, in my opinion, because as of right now, everything is allegations. In my opinion, I don't believe that there was any voter fraud that happened. Not only that, but I do think you guys have probably heard it by now. There is an interesting point that the left is bringing up, which is, a lot of the Republicans are very willing to accept their victories in the House or in the Senate, which is cast on the same ballot. So why voter fraud in terms of the presidential election? I think it's a kind of
let Kenny go.
Yeah. First of all, it's not that there's a big problem with mail-in ballots in general. The problem is that it's never been done on this scale before, and especially
states weren't ready.
Like Georgia
weren't ready.
Well, here's the thing: if we just
the country as a whole wasn't ready, and I personally think Trump did much to help it out,
except for like 4 states.
Well,
everybody else got this shit done.
So right, a lot of states had no problems. I mean, had relatively small problems.
Yeah, a lot of states had no problems.
What I find very interesting.
37 states opted to do the mail-in ballots, though. There were about 7 states total, Texas, South Carolina, that pretty much opted other. They did mail-in ballots, but they kept it a little more strict. They required there to be some specific criteria. You had to give a reason, whether you were sick or illness or something like that. But 37 states opted to be more lenient because of the coronavirus pandemic.
Well, and what I don't like is that people use the empathy of Black America to manipulate a system. That's what they did in Georgia. And what I mean by that is when you say things like and we've had this discussion on the show before about voter suppression. So then I know where you're going with it. They use the voter suppression as a way to say, we don't need IDs. You don't need to ask where people live. If you do any of that, you're being racist. And so it opens up a door to fraud. Now, at this point, it's all speculation. I'm okay with that. But me being a statistics person, this is what I find to be amazing. In areas where they have more Democrats than Republican voters, okay, not every state actually makes you register as a specific Republican or Democrat and doesn't track it, okay? Only about half the states track it. So out of the states that track it, there's only one that went Democrat that has more Republicans than Democrats. That's Arizona. Okay, that's the only one the Democrats won that had more Democrats than Republicans, more Republicans than Democrats.
More Republicans than Democrats.
So all these states that I'm about to name went to Trump, and we'll put Pennsylvania off to the side. But North Carolina, which I think at some point they're going to call that, North Carolina has 80,000 more Democrats registered than Republican. Florida has almost 1 million more registered Democrats than Republicans. West Virginia, Kentucky, Louisiana, Nevada ended up being a contested state. Pennsylvania is a contested state. North Carolina is a contested state. So all those are predominantly Democrat when you look in terms of the registrations. But for the registrations that changed between 2016 and 2020, and even ones that from 2018, whichever stat you want to look, they all went up. But Republicans outpaced Democrats in every single one of those areas, except Arizona. So in all those states, not only did he win them before, and they had been Republican for a couple of years, he's contesting where more Republicans are now registered voters. In Pennsylvania, the Democrats actually went down in registrations, and yet somehow they made up 500,000 votes. That's how many more votes got called this time than last time. 500,000.
All right, so let's touch on that because that's kind of a lot. I know you got a lot more. I just want to kind of rebuttal that. We can stick on that. You brought up some good points, some interesting points, and then we can kind of move forward because there's a lot to unravel here, guys. For those that are watching us live, and feel free to type your comments in, any questions, any comments that you may have to kind of keep the conversation moving forward. But just to touch on what Kenny mentioned really fast, and not to go really quoting Bernie Sanders or anything like that, but I believe that he called this out actually months ago because for whatever reason, and I don't know why this is, but again, statistically, like Kenny was saying, if you look at statistically who is mailing in ballots or who is absentee, statistically it's more Democrats that are doing that. So
not historically. Historically, it's actually been 2016 because most of the time it's been absentee votes for the military. And military previously had always
typically is on the right.
Yeah. But because the Democrats openly campaigned for that, I have no problem with more mail-in ballots coming from the Democrats. I think anybody that's reasonable understood that. The problem is when it ends up being 95% to 5%. That, again, this is just statistics.
100%.
I was going to say, that's a crazy number. I didn't think it was. The number I came across was more like 18 82.
Yeah. Oh, we'll take
I
mean,
that. But 95
it depends on which county you look at. But
might seem anecdotal to some, but that's kind of a big difference.
No, it's a huge deal. It's a huge deal. Well, anecdotal because I'm talking about specific counties, but yes, aggregately, you're talking about 80-20. Okay. If you're 80-20, that's beating somebody by 60 points. I was going to do a write-in ballot because I was actually supposed to be in Maryland. We were having a business.
I remember you saying that, yeah.
And my son ended up being able to come with me. So the agreement that I made was that he had to be back at school. So then I ended up being here. So I actually ordered an absentee ballot. I didn't end up using it. To me, that's a huge anomaly to be that number, especially when the registration count didn't go up high. And I want to be clear on this. If they do a check of the ballots, just like when Gore, it took 37 days, okay, for the Gore team to end up Bush being called as the actual president, okay, during the 2000 election.
Yeah, it was 2000.
Yeah, and just to note this, because I hate hypocrisy, Stacey Abrams should not say anything about Trump not conceding because she never conceded the election that she lost in Georgia. But I'm just going to go ahead and set that to the side for a minute.
That was also extremely close.
That's
extremely close. Like I personally, if I was Stacey Abrams, I wouldn't have conceded that either. I think she did. I think she took the higher road than Trump. She never said that there was any sort of fraud or cheating going on. She never made claims of that. No,
she did.
No. People in her administration did. She never personally came out and said that.
I'll send you. I'll find a clip because I only watch her. I don't watch her administration because I don't. But Stacey Abrams herself has constantly said that it was due to voter suppression.
Voter suppression.
Again,
I did hear that argument.
One side says, fraud. So I'm okay with her not doing it. Okay. All I'm saying is that we got to start setting some standards and at least being the same on both sides. If they come out and say, and this is most of the Republicans that I've talked to, they go through it. They say, hey, it was a fair election. Hey, Biden's going to be our president. I even put it on Facebook. Biden is probably going to be our president. It's not that big of a deal to me. I actually don't think it's going to hurt me. I just don't think it's the best thing for America. So, but I don't know if the best thing for America is turning around an election just like when they did the Gore-Bush thing. I wasn't a big fan of that. I don't really like.
No, but, if they turn it around now. Oh shit!
It's funny because I did have two different people that I knew that are both Democrats that told me, "Oh man, if Biden wins, white supremacists are going to be burning shit down." And I said, "Are you?"
Well, I'm glad that you touched on that too because that
was never going to happen.
So I understand why somebody would say that just based on the fact that Trump
fills your head with that stuff. That's why.
Trump did say. I mean, it should be no surprise. I mean, even in the 2016 election, Trump said that he wasn't going to respect or accept the results of the election unless he won. He said that back in 2016. I'm not surprised that he didn't win here. Honest,
hold on, we got to be accurate on this show. Actually, what happened was they asked him, and he did not put his hand in the air, which is funny because the Democrats did put their hand in the air. And Hillary did not accept it. So he didn't lie. He didn't say whether he would or not.
No, he didn't lie, but no. Well,
he did not answer the question, though, for the record.
Yeah.
This time he did answer it, and he said he would if it was not masked and fraud and blah, blah, blah. Because he called this out. He said this was going to happen. Now, Democrats can go, oh,
that's the thing. And that's where we kind of, there's some gray area here because, again, Bernie Sanders called it out as well, too. Again, especially since the 2016 election, Democrats typically vote mail in more so than Republicans. And not only that, but with all of the, I was affected personally, myself and my wife, in terms of the post office. We order packages all the time. I actually have another business. It's a retail business where we sell clothes and things like that. We're constantly getting packages in. In general, we don't use the postal service. We typically use UPS, which is a much better service, usually a little bit cheaper as well, too. But every now and then, packages that we order from Amazon and things end up coming USPS. Like it's out of our hands. Like they end up coming USPS. Here, where we live at, we stopped, at least for a period of time, probably about a 6-week period, we had stopped receiving mail every single day. We were only getting mail like every Tuesday and Friday. Sometimes it would come like Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday. It seemed like we were always getting it on Fridays, but never. But any other time it was just inconsistent. But in general, we were getting it like twice, maybe 3 times a week. This started right when all of the stuff happened, where Trump was trying to, get all of the sorters out of the facilities and things like that. This is when this started. So me and my wife, we didn't know what was going on. So we actually just talked to the mail ladies, and all she kept saying was Trump, Trump, Trump. This is, our mail lady, she's a white lady. I get I don't know what she is, but I get the feeling that she would probably be Republican, just because
most male people are Democratic, for being honest. Like, I've been through a lot of most male anyone that I'm like, oh, that's probably a Republican.
But if you actually look at Trump's base and you actually look at the numbers, most white women over 50 are Trump supporters. She's a white woman over 50. So in fairness, that's why I would say that
that's accurate. I'd have to Google it, because
you can Google it. We can pull it up right now.
Are not a good demographic for Donald Trump. They're not.
Yeah, well, in general, women in general, Donald Trump doesn't do well with women in general. Women
specifically are not a good. I just read it earlier today. But
younger white women, I would say.
Here's the real. This is real data. Okay, the real data is they are not done counting yet. And somehow in 2008, 12, and 16, it was between 5.8 and 5.5 million votes. Somehow in 2020, Trump gets 400,000 more votes than he got last time. And yet there's an extra million votes that had been ever been.
Yeah, and you know why?
In Arizona.
You know why?
Well, you can argue why. But according to what you said earlier, you said that the mail-in ballots is something that we've always done. And then you would have to convince me or any person that was voting for Trump that there was more of a movement against Trump than there was for Obama. And so you can't sell that to me. You can't, because I knew told me I'm voting for Obama. You couldn't stop me from getting to the election. And somehow he has gotten way more votes than Obama by the millions. There was 11 million more people have voted this year than had voted since 2008.
So there's two things. So two things. For one, people lie. I know we talked about it in the past before, and you had asked me specifically, Kenny, if I knew anybody that had voted Trump 2016 that was going to vote against him 2020. Now I know several people that have done it. Several people, now that the election is semi-over, I've had these comments. People in my family that I didn't even know.
The fact is, more Republicans have changed. Republicans got more people registering to vote than Democrats did. So that argument,
but it doesn't mean that
nobody's going to register as a Republican to vote against Trump.
It doesn't mean that they didn't vote Democrat. Even I have people in my immediate family that I didn't even know voted Democrat 2016. That voted Trump 2016. That flipped, including my best friend.
Glenn, you're telling
wait. So what's that?
Out and actually, hold on. I want to solve one of Glenn's other things that he said. Is that this would not have worked if people would have voted for because that would have meant that they voted for Biden and then down ballot Republican. Exactly. And since those numbers don't bear that out, the numbers look more like people sent in a vote that said Obama or that said Biden and didn't have the Republicans below them. So people don't.
How do you figure? Republicans won more seats than Democrats.
The vast majority of people are now registering Republican for the first time and not voting for Trump.
So you had 40 million new voters entering the voting pool. You had 40 million new voters. Not all of them were just 18, but you had 40 million unregistered voters that were now voting. That's a fact. You can Google it. You can look it up. You got a computer right in front of you. 40 million new registered voters that came into
there are some anomalies out there, Glenn. You would agree. There are some things that are a little suspect. So do we believe
Look, I'm asking.
Do you believe the media? I'm asking you guys.
I say it like this, bro. Give it to them. If you want to look, double, triple, quadruple count them fuckers. Whatever Trump wants, count them all. Count them,
Right,
count them,
right.
stop the counts, whatever. Because here's the thing:
No, don't
Biden
stop
won
the
in
count.
so many states
Count
that if
them
you took any
again.
2 or 3 of them away, it wouldn't really matter. Count them, double count them, triple count them. I think that there should be a thorough investigation. I do think that each investigation should be handled situationally. I think it should be on a situational basis. I don't think
told, hey, look, we recounted them and you still lost. He can eat crow.
Like if there's any founded if it's warranted in a specific state to do so, then for sure do so. Do I think we need to go recounting every single ballot in the election? No. But if that's what Trump wants, give him what he wants.
In any fair election, you can't have, hey, everybody has to turn in this date, and then you have 5 states say, no, we're going to wait till Friday when everybody else has turned in their numbers Wednesday.
Okay, so that I agree with. Okay.
They should have said, hey, look, any mail-in ballot has to be done by Wednesday. We all count by Wednesday, and we all give the final numbers by Friday. That's it.
Okay, so that I agree with. So just to be clear, just for clarity of the audience and people that are like listening, not watching, just for clarity, so any ballots that were cast by November 3rd deserve to be counted, correct? Even if they didn't get in until maybe November 5th or November 6th.
If you were alive, right?
Obviously. Yeah, obviously.
So
there's been improvement. It's been debunked. It just hasn't been founded in any evidence that dead votes have been
What I'm saying is, no. There has been.
I've researched too myself in Michigan that were dead.
Systemic is whether or not it matters.
I don't think. And honestly, the cases that I have seen like that, that's honestly nothing new. Like the numbers, like typically 10,000. And human error is in the play here. So
of course,
but systemically, I'm glad you said that.
And I agree with everything you just said. The reason why I threw in what I said was because I actually talked to somebody who said, well, what if somebody was alive, they casted their ballot, and then they died?
Still deserves to be counted.
And I don't think it does, because you are no longer an American citizen on the day that election day happened. You got to be alive election day.
You were an American citizen the day you cast your ballot. You meant it. It doesn't matter at that point. It doesn't matter at that point.
Casting it early.
So let me ask you a question. So what's the point of a will? What's the point of a will? At the time you're an American citizen, you're a live, living human being, and these are the things that you want. So you die, and because you're trying to tell me that because you die, the things that you wanted when you were alive are no longer valid? Like, I don't understand.
No. What I'm saying is you don't get to vote.
That's literally what? That's literally what? Maybe 1,000 in the country?
But no. It's a valid question, because here's the deal. The truth is, no, you're dead, so you don't get to vote. When they let you vote,
but you voted when you were alive.
No, you didn't vote when you were dead. They let you put your place in line. That's all they're letting you do.
Yeah, they let you cast a ballot
on election day. Everybody votes on election day because you sent your ballot in 3 weeks before. All that does is guarantee that you get in on that day. Election day is election day, unless we're going to start making election day election weekend. And we'll have another episode of this.
If you want to put it that way and get specific, then maybe we're the ones that are lagging behind. Maybe us as Americans are the ones that are dropping the ball, because every other industrialized nation does it that way. Nobody typically has the results of their election midnight, election day. It just doesn't happen. It's usually about a week or so later, and it's normal.
Look, the argument against that is American Idol can cast 140 million votes in between commercials. We should be able to do it in a fucking day. All right. Yeah,
I agree with that. I agree. I agree with that one. Boom.
Before we get off this, to say moving forward, because I like to put my flag in the ground on certain things. I have been anti-popular vote for my entire life. I've told people that's not a good thing. I don't believe in it. I don't care if Trump believes in it. He did. He believed in it. He thought popular.
Well, he lost both of them by a landslide.
And then he wanted to be. But again, that doesn't matter to me. I don't care.
So hang on, so Kenny. So
my values don't change based on who the president is.
You don't think the popular vote is like a nice second thing in terms of if the electoral vote ends up in a tie, which is very likely, it could have very well happened this election, then they would go to the popular vote. You don't think that's a nice plan B to have?
It's a nice callback.
So
that's what it's used for. That's what it's used for. It's a plan B.
Yeah.
I love Plan B.
I mean, obviously there's a reason for it. So, let me ask this again. At the as a last question before we move on to the next subject, do you think the media did us any justice by claiming Biden the winner before the votes were actually counted? Or do you think it's over? Give me your thoughts.
I'm going to spend my 1 minute on something that I think the media was extremely dishonest, not just with that. The way they purposely did not call Florida for a long time when they knew it. They purposely didn't call Texas. They didn't want to show Trump up at any point. And people can keep spouting off about Fox. I've been saying Fox is not right-wing for a long time. Nobody wants to believe me just because the 3 shows that are the most popular happen to be right-wing shows. But the media did a complete injustice. The fact that
I think Trump toward the end of his presidency ended up having a beef with Fox in particular. So I think they kind of stopped caring. They pretty much acted as PR pundit for his entire presidency.
No, I totally disagree. They totally didn't. Tucker may have, but Tucker called him on certain things too. Again,
Hannity did.
Hannity was, because that's who Hannity is. Same thing with Laura Ingraham, because that's who Laura Ingraham is.
They're the most popular shows on the network.
Yes, but there's lots of shows on the network. There's a lot of people. Neil Cavuto, Shepard Smith.
Nobody's watching him. Come on, man.
What?
Nobody's watching Neil Cavuto. Nobody's
He's
watching
on the show.
Sarah Bree or whatever her name is. Nobody, come on. Nobody's watching.
Let me tell you this. And Twitter, and they've been trying to get on this ahead of this for years, because Twitter, YouTube, Google, their complete left-wing bias towards inflow of information. The way they shut down the Hunter Biden stuff was complete crap. You cannot do that in a free society. They can because they're businesses, but the antitrust laws on monopolies should absolutely be beating down their doors. I am never going to be in favor of monopolies. I don't care if they're in my favor or not. The monopolies, you cannot let them roll ramshot on information flow, because you and I both know it's very hard for some small YouTuber to get all his news out. And we'll hit that at a later section in the show. But that's where it failed.
Well, so I agree with partial. I agree, but this is the thing. There's some gray area in there, because in terms of Fox News, and then in terms of, I guess, CNN, for example, just to right wing, left wing, just to make things easy. Fox News they called it early for Biden, but if you actually look on CNN had kept showing all of the numbers where Trump was up in my opinion, and I've said this for many shows. Well, you're right about, they only showed this, they did, but they only showed the states where Trump was up in. So, and I've said this on shows in the past too. In my opinion, I think that Fox was trying to show Biden ahead in an effort to get more Trump supporters to move. I think CNN was trying to do the same thing, show the opposite person ahead in an effort to get more of their.
But actually, that's not what scientists. I looked it up. There's studies on this, because I know you had brought that up before. The studies show the opposite is true. The studies show that when you're ahead, you are more likely to vote. That is what the study said, because I didn't know that either. I tended to think the same way you did, Glenn. But somebody brought it up.
If they call a state and I still have time to vote, and they're like, hey, look, Biden already won and I'm a Trump supporter, why am I going to go fucking vote? It's over.
Yeah.
Interesting point. And you're right.
As long as the elections end up being fair, hey, look, at the end of the day, I'm not going to burn shit down if my guy loses. I'm a Dolphins fan.
And people on the right keep bringing that up too. You know what I mean? We can go back and forth with that. You know, I think people on the left, because I'm a business owner. I've talked to other business owners. There are business owners on both sides. There are business owners that boarded their shit up because they support Trump and they thought that people on the left were going to vandalize their stuff. And then there's people that are Biden supporters that boarded up their stuff because they thought that by Trump telling the Proud Boys to stand back and stand by, that meant, or by Trump saying that he wasn't going to.
There's only one of those two sides.
He never said he wasn't going to concede, but he just said he wasn't going to accept the results of the election. So there's two sides of it there, and I'm going to just leave it at that, because I can go a little deeper into it, but. I think both sides are trying to manipulate the situation, and honestly, I think the right was a little bit off in their manipulation, because back when people were rioting and protesting in terms of George Floyd, they were doing it for their humanity, or at least their perceived disenfranchisement or oppression. They weren't doing it because of an election. So we can argue both sides.
We have another show.
Yeah. So let's move on. So since you brought up small businesses, there's a lot of small businesses in Maryland that are kind of worried. Governor Hogan came out yesterday at 5 p.m. talking about, hey, look, we're almost about ready to go back to phase 1. Y'all don't
exactly
stop it.
Right. Sure did. And everybody on the right, of course, said, here we go. Here it starts, as if Biden had something to do with that.
It was all Biden, Glennon.
Yeah, that was Governor Hogan, Republican, his decision, his choice.
Saying he's a Republican is like saying Mitt Romney's a Republican at this point. Nobody believes that's a Republican.
At all. And
absolutely it has to do with Biden winning an election.
He's a registered Republican. He made the call. Hogan made the call.
Correct.
Anything else outside of that is speculation.
No. There's no speculation. He just got elected and he just did it. That's not speculation. That's actually a fact.
Yeah, kind of.
You can speculate that's not why he did it.
You know what?
It actually did happen exactly like that. And
actually, no. Everybody on the right before Trump lost kept saying that as soon as Trump wins or after the election, that nobody was going to be talking about coronavirus anymore. Nobody was going to be talking about the pandemic. And here we have numbers. We got numbers spiking, just like I said that they were going to spike worldwide. Going all the way up, spiking in Maryland as well too.
Are going up.
Let's take a look at it.
Oh yeah, no, you're gonna
exactly which date is
I can literally, bro. I literally have the information from today. There's been 140,000 new cases in America just today.
Was it spiking in death?
Now, you guys, and Glenn might be talking about infections. Kenny,
of course he's talking about infections because the death rate is at an all-time low, and people aren't dying from it anymore in any kind of mass numbers. Here's Maryland.
The death rate,
Show me where
that is always the death rate is always.
Just point to the date.
We have 10.3 million cases in the country. 240,000 deaths. The death rate has always been low.
Look,
no, it hasn't. It's all right here. Everybody watching this can see it wasn't always low. That's not true. The audience
it was, man. The death rate has never gone higher than 5%. It's always been low.
You're trying to lump it all in like these aren't happening in certain locations, like it's not a virus.
No, Maryland,
like a virus respects state lines or respects who's Republican or Democrat. Do you see the
spike here? No, you don't. You don't.
The virus don't care, bro. There was 140,000 new cases just today alone. In DC, Maryland, and Virginia, there was 3,000.
Not in Maryland. And this is the death rate. Bringing up the cases doesn't matter. We don't talk about people have the flu, and the death rate for kids is lower.
Look, the death rate for kids is negligible at best.
Than COVID-19. That's a fact.
Kids really aren't dying from it, to be honest.
Right, kids are the cases. Cases went up.
But it doesn't matter. Tell that to the person that just lost their grandmother or lost one of their other kids. People have died.
People die every day. People die every day. As you can see, there's no spike in the deaths. It's clear.
I'll be honest with you. I don't agree with I don't agree with lockdowns. I don't agree with mandating masks. I don't. I think everybody should have that choice. I think people should do their own research and have the choice to do what it is that they want to do with their lives and their health. I agree with that. But to sit here and try to act like 10.3 million cases in America is not is like you can't. Like that's
there's 60 million cases of swine flu. I don't get caught up in the case number. I get caught up in the deaths because
it's convenient. You get caught up in the deaths because it's convenient to do it because there's only 240,000 of them. But at the end of the day,
you've been on the show. Have I ever got caught up on cases ever?
What? What's that?
Fred, have you ever heard?
When have we ever cared? We've always cared about cases in any other disease. When have we ever cared about cases?
Since it started, it is about the deaths. It is about the deaths because deaths, we know somebody died. Even those numbers were manipulated because they used anyone who died with COVID. So deaths were manipulated too, but at least we know somebody died. A case doesn't mean anything. A case just means whether or not the virus is going through the area. We know that the virus cases, the more we test, it's going to be higher. The more you send kids to school, the more they're going to have it. The reason the death rate is not going up, and Biden is so stupid, in his last debate, he actually tried to act like New York was doing a great job because their cases were down. Well, that's foolishness.
Nah, New York is going back up. So is New Jersey.
What?
New York's going back up. So is New Jersey. So is Maryland. A lot of the states are going back up.
It's about the death.
So I watched the Hogan presser yesterday.
It's no secret. We've all agreed in the past on the show that the chances of you dying from coronavirus are slim.
But it's getting lower, because when it first came through, for any area,
and I agree with that too. The death rate is going down, but new cases are going up.
Correct. Nobody's arguing that. More people are going to get tested. They are. I've seen the lines. Of
course. Well, because now more tests are available, and now like, even like us, like even just going to the hospital delivering a baby, like if they even think you got some shit, they're giving you a test now. Like before, like back in April, May, you couldn't get a test. You couldn't even buy a test. I couldn't. My dad came across or thought he came in contact with it, and I couldn't get my kids tested. Why? Because the mortality rate for kids is negligible, and it's understandable. It's still like that today in terms of kids. Hard to get kids a test. Anybody else, you can get a test relatively easy. Cases are going up, but they're not going up just because we're testing more. That's ridiculous. Like they're going up because they're going up. Testing more is the way to track it.
Testing more.
It's not ridiculous. They're testing way more.
I mean, so you're going to find more results.
If more people are getting sick, more people are getting sick. More people aren't getting sick because we're testing and catching it. They're getting sick because they're getting sick.
But this doesn't measure people that are sick. It measures people that have it. Not everyone that has it.
New cases. Yeah, new cases. People that have gotten it or have it.
Correct.
Exactly.
That doesn't mean they're sick.
That means that they've gotten it or had it. Yeah, I mean, you can be asymptomatic. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying sick in terms of like you have symptoms. I'm saying in terms you've acquired the virus.
No,
you acquired the virus because you've acquired the virus. Your symptoms are your symptoms. That's neither here nor there. You've acquired the virus because you've acquired it.
If we're gonna, and again, you kind of backpedal because then you said you shouldn't shut down and said it shouldn't be the states. My whole argument is that state should not be shut down. It doesn't make any sense to shut it down.
I don't think
the cases are up, but the cases are up because there's more testing. That's not a myth. Like that's true. The more you test in an area,
I agree more people are getting infected, but they're being part of the data
because more people are getting infected. We know about it because we're doing more testing, so we can see it.
Right.
That's what it is, Kenny. Like it's not like
people that are sick. People that are sick are concerned. People that die are concerned. People that get it that have no symptoms are not a concern. They're not.
Well, they're personally not concerned, but they should be concerned for their family members or anybody that may have a pre-existing condition. Absolutely.
There's nothing you can do. Keeping people in is not stopping that.
Look, I agree. I agree with you there. I'm not for locking shit down at all. I'm not for locking shit down.
We're having here. The argument
I'm not taking the vaccine. I'm not giving it to my family.
Me neither.
I know. What's that company?
Last time
Mirena said that
they said 90% effective. That means they're 10%.
No, I'm not lucky to be the 10% that'll kill my kids.
I want to point out because I talked to a doctor about this just the other night.
So did I.
He said it was very funny how right after the election they dropped that news. And she's like, they didn't tell anybody. She works because I actually just let you guys know, I actually have a couple of friends that I'm friends with here that are literally in the COVID section. And they didn't tell them nothing about this. Then all of a sudden after the election, boom, it dropped just like that information. So like people can say what they want. That's shady to me. And again, it doesn't mean that shady stuff's not going to happen during election time. With the COVID stuff, I'm ultra concerned about it primarily, and I'm passionate about it because my daughters were actually coming to visit me. And then all of a sudden they put Georgia on this list. So it's so stupid.
Yeah.
They don't do it by county. And so if I fly them into Jacksonville, then I can go to Orlando because Florida's not on the list. But I can't bring them back to Valdosta, which has a lower rate than Orlando does. So the state thing is just stupid. It's so stupid. If you want to do counties and do surrounding areas of those counties, then you can make an argument for areas of spikes. But I don't know where we got this idea that it's not going to go everywhere. This virus is not going anywhere. This virus is going everywhere. I've been saying that from Jump Street when I said that
this thing is not a cure. It's a vaccine. It's a vaccine.
A pandemic. You don't control it. It's not. We're not God. It's just going to work. We want to make it go slow. We hope it doesn't get to our old people, but we're not going to be. And I don't like. Because again, I think
it's been way overly politicized, and I'm just going to throw that out there.
We're trying to limit the infection rate and the death rate, but that doesn't mean we should lock down. That just means people should do their due diligence.
I agree with that. Sure.
And I completely disagree when Trump came out and was like, "Oh, we're going to have a cure," and that kind of, I don't like that talk. And I don't like the talk of He shouldn't
even have said nothing. He shouldn't even have been.
I got another part for people that think that I'm always pro-Trump. I did not like, and I don't believe, this whole idea that Trump says, where I saved all these lives by shutting down travel. I actually don't buy that. Like, I'm probably one of the only people that support Trump that don't really buy that. I think the shit goes through, and all you can really do, we wear masks to make ourselves feel better. I don't think it slows up. I don't think Biden's going to somehow miraculously save these 200,000 lives. People are going to, as it goes through, if it gets to the old people. Now, luckily, this is the second time around. So most old people should have some sort of immunities around it if they've been near it at all.
Well, and the states should be better equipped to handle it at this point. They knew a second wave was coming. If they're not ready, that's on them.
Well, and that curve has been flattened. So our hospital units are not overran. And so with the better stuff that they have, knowing what we have, the second time around, it should be better. That's all common sense, I think.
And that's a very general statement, because there are some areas where hospitals are still pretty much at capacity. There are some areas
10 to 20% on the other side. I agree with that. But for the most part, we should be ready to handle this as a nation. For the most part. We should have.
I am completely, again, flag in the dirt. I am completely against shutting down and running your state like you are a dictator. And it's funny because everybody acted like Trump was a dictator, and he was actually the opposite. There's a lot of people out there that say they want things I want our leader to shut down. Like, if you don't want to go out, don't go out. If you got older parents, stay locked down. If you don't wear a mask.
So you guys brought up,
but this is one thing that I will kind of say.
Biden's going to be our savior, right? Biden's going to be our savior. So let's move into the next topic: the Biden Kamala Harris plan. What is the plan, and what do we have to look forward to? Because I'm naive to the fact.
Free stuff, even for rich people.
I'm on board with that.
I'm look, at the end of the day, kind of what you just said, Fred, Biden, Harris is going to be our savior. I think anybody that thinks any president on any side thinking that they're going to be their savior is a moron. I said it at the end of our last show that, us as parents, raising solid human beings, teaching financial literacy, that's what's going to get you over the hump, no matter who the president is. But my concerns in particular, just for Trump in particular, is and I know we're probably going to go back and forth on this, but I believe deep down that Trump is a fascist. I think that Trump is a fascist personally. And it's just based on certain things that he said. And I mean, if you
for 4 years, he hasn't presided like one. So that's definitely an opinion, but he hasn't presided as one.
Of course, it's an opinion, and we can kind of go back and forth on it. I do think he's a fascist. I mean, other nations also looked at him.
I would agree. Narcissist, definitely. I don't know about that. Narcissist,
definitely a narcissist for sure. I would. You probably have to be I think narcissism is a prerequisite to fascism.
No, it's a prerequisite to being president of the United States.
Yeah, you got to think you're the shit.
If you're running for president, get it done. You think you can run the most powerful world in the nation in the world, you are some kind of narcissist. I'm sorry, people. Even Obama, Reagan, so I can hit both sides.
All of them, Nixon, Kennedy, the Kennedys. I mean, yeah, absolutely, all of them for sure. But just to not really go down that rabbit hole, Biden Harris is nobody's savior. They haven't came out, so there's been certain speculation. I know.
So I've heard it all. Someone debunk it. Are we headed towards socialism? Are they going to come take my guns? Is everything going to be free?
Get out of here. Absolutely
this is what's
not.
swirling
Come
around.
on. All fear tactics from the right. They're not taking anybody's guns.
Well,
It's just not going to happen.
The good news for the right wing is Biden's a liar. So Biden said he was going to take their guns. That's what he said. So that's, you can go read it. He
said that back in 2017. He said that. He did. He said that back in 2017. Before he ran, he did.
As soon as he beat, what was the guy's name? The Democrat that was running down out of Texas.
Oh,
Beto O'Rourke. The Beta male. Beto O'Rourke, whose name is not Beta, by the way. He tried to make it sound different. But Beto O'Rourke. He said, and then you're going to go get their guns when I'm president. That's what Biden said. That's a fact. Is he going to? No. So the good news is that except for Trump, in my whole life, a president's never done what they said. So I have zero expectation he's going to do what he says. Here's what I believe is going to happen. And you can tell me where I'm wrong.
Trump said he was going to build a wall. Where is it at?
It's built. Like, what are you talking about?
No, it's not. The wall that's there was there before he became president, and he built like a piece of a wall that's not even like a half of a mile long.
So we can have that discussion. We'll go through the top 10. Trump
there's not even half of a mile that he built of wall.
Yeah, right. No, way more.
There's not. The wall that he built was there.
No,
there. You talk about the border that's between the border there is. There's been a border. There's been an actual wall for years that's in between Mexico, parts of Nevada, goes all the way down to Texas.
New wall. There's way more than a quarter mile. We can bet a steak dinner on it and look it up.
Yeah, we'll bet a steak dinner. They said there's about a half a mile of new wall.
Nope. You can replace fencing with a wall, which is what we did. A lot of it. And he would have got funding for it, but Democrats don't care about dreamers. So he tried to put it through Congress that way. Yeah.
Democrats don't care about dreamers. Trump is the one that tried to try to keep dreamers out of the country for no reason.
Wrong.
For no reason.
Wrong.
Why would he even mess with the dreamers?
Wrong. Trump wanted to make more. He said that he would allow three.
I don't care what he said. I'm looking at what he did. Look at the number of dreamers that are not in this country no more.
The Democrats don't care about dreamers. So again, let's talk about what Biden's going to do, which we both know, like he's going to
take a dreamer and ask them how they feel about Trump.
I have. What are you talking? I have more dreamers that work for me. You can call them. I talked to 2 dreamers last night. Last night, I talked to 2 different doctors that are dreamers. 2 different. I'll see if I can get one of them.
Yeah, I want to see. Yeah.
One's black. One's from the Dominican Republic. One's from Haiti. One's from the Dominican Republic.
Okay. I got one. I got one from Puerto Rico. I got a family, a Puerto Rican family. I'll bring mine on.
Puerto Rican family dreamers. Puerto Rican dreamers. Puerto Rican is part of America. Like, you serious? They don't count.
Cuban. I mean, yeah, Puerto Rican, Cuban. Yeah, Cuban dreamers. Also,
we're almost all for Trump. Did you check the Miami? Again, let's stick to Biden because Cubans are by far the biggest.
Most Cubans are for Trump, except the dreamers. The Cubans that are here, that are citizens, are for Trump. The dreamers are not. Come on, man. You got to tell the whole story, Kenny. Let's be real here.
That is the whole story. If Trump would have got funding for the wall, he would have allowed 3 times more dreamers than Obama ever tried to get in. Ever. That's a fact.
I don't believe that.
Look it up. You can Google it. Democrats turned it down because they don't want a wall because they want illegal immigration issues. That's a win for them. So that's what they played on. So
how is that a win for them? Like, how is that a win for anybody? How is that a win for anybody?
Because they want to create this world where they make believe all the white people are racist bigots. That's what they wanted. That's what they convinced.
Do you believe these conspiracy theories, bro?
No, that's all true. What you don't even know what Biden's gonna do. None of us do.
No, I have Biden's plan right here, his prospective plan. He hasn't came out and gave like a cohesive plan as to what he's going to do for certain issues.
And yet he just won an election based on what, Glenn? If I ask any Democrat, what's the first thing they're going to tell me? Trump's a racist. Trump's a misogynist. So don't tell me that's a conspiracy. That's a fact.
No, Trump. I'm talking about in terms of Biden's plan, but no, Trump is a racist. Trump is. That's not.
See,
look,
it works. All people.
Bro, if I was Donald Trump and I had that much scrutiny, if I was Donald Trump and I had that much scrutiny about me and my personal character and me being a racist, yo, it's.
You know what you might do? You might
from the very beginning,
or you might
unclear. No. I've said it from the very beginning. I've said it from the very beginning. He's unclear. He never sat down, and I don't want to hear about this crap about him having a round table with black politicians that are out of touch. He never went on the Tom Joyner morning show. He never went on the Breakfast Club. He never did any black media. Never. Not one time ever. He never did it. He never went on Tavis Smiley. He was with all the prominent down with black people ever, bro.
In the 80s before any president.
I know.
He never sat down. In the 80s, he was indicted. Him and his father was indicted in 79 for not renting the black people.
Not. Again.
They were indicted in 1979 by the federal government for not renting their apartments to black people.
Trump was at the NAACP.
Somehow all the black people didn't have a problem with him today.
I don't understand, man. Now
I'm sorry you believe all that conspiracy stuff.
You said somehow what? Black people what? No. Black people never liked Trump. They thought he was an entertainer with the apprentice. Somebody never took Trump seriously.
He was with Sharpton. He was with Jackson at the NAACP and was awarded some major award for Black initiatives back in the late 80s, early 90s, and now all of a sudden he's a racist.
Yeah, I mean it's always politically convenient. I will bet this. Here's my flag
There's
down.
way too many black people.
Here we are. Everybody out there, you watching this? I'll bet you in 4 years, whatever Republican runs, if he's white, guess what they're going to say? He's racist. I bet you, because you know what? They did it 4 years before that, and 4 years before that, and 4 years before that. Shit's old, man. Nobody's buying that. Only Democrats believe that in their circles. That's it.
Look, man, Kanye West came out and said that he doesn't think George Washington likes black people based on Katrina. There's always been isolated incidents.
Washington
George Bush. There's always been isolated incidents, things like that. But in general, and look,
I do. Always the punchline. Mitt Romney was racist. His dad walked with Martin Luther King, and Mitt Romney was a racist.
There's several black people and several Democrats that think Republicans are racist. That's a fact. I agree with that. There's people that think that. There are people that think that. There are black people that think that. There are leftists or Democrats that think that. In terms of Trump, I believe it. Like I never
every argument you can give, there's a counter argument. It's just a matter of what you want to believe.
It's a waste of time to debate whether he's racist because I think it's silly. You think he is. There's no evidence to show that he is.
In our lifetime, look, it's been said, but in our lifetime, George Bush Sr., George Bush Jr.,
Democrats always believe
they were never brought up on the type of scrutiny, the severity of racial scrutiny that Trump was brought under has never been brought under the Bushes like that. Not like that. People might have said it, but I never felt like, well, damn, Bush is really racist like that. Like people said it, but I never really thought like
because you weren't.
Now
you apparently weren't in politics deep enough because I saw it. I saw it with Mitt Romney. They always it's a Democrat talking point.
So my thing is this: if Trump is,
talking point is that all Democrats are over emotional, especially nowadays. Democrats want to burn shit down.
They do. That's a fact.
If Trump is
that's not
rioting and protesting.
They're actually when you're burning shit down, Glenn. People are going to believe you're burning shit down. It's not make believe.
How is
if you're actually burning shit down, but people, why is everybody acting like they don't have the ability to be able to
racist? If he's
how come people are acting like they don't have the ability to be able to separate a situation? George Floyd died right after watching Ahmaud Arbery, right after Breonna Taylor. So people were furious.
Excuse.
So people were furious. So when before that were people rioting and burning shit down? Outside of the LA riots in 1992. So the LA riots in 1992 when they stomped Rodney King on camera. Tell me another time when we just decided to up and fucking burn the city down.
When the LA Lakers won
the saying you up and did it. The Democrats played the black community.
It's never happened. Thank you. It's never freaking happened.
Right, no one said it would. Democrats are the ones that incite you guys that way. Democrats, George Floyd ain't knew that happened to Tony Tippett. He's white, so save me, miss me with that shit. We've already gone through that. There ain't no massive
because it happens, but nobody.
It's just not true. And everybody
what's not true?
knows it's not true. And so
What's not
going
true?
through and burning down areas and busting out windows and creating that stuff.
The problem is that
So first of all, most people don't even know who Tippett is from down Texas. Most people don't even know who that is.
Yeah,
most people don't even know who Tippett is.
And most of the businesses that are being destroyed are black-owned.
Hold on, just to go back to Kenny's, argument, right? Just to go back to Kenny's argument.
Yeah.
So let's name them. You got Tippett. You got the white guy shot down in Arizona in the hotel. You got the one girl that you got.
You're gonna name them all. I mean, you can pull them up. There's the same amount of.
There's you can name them, but how many white people know about it?
None. Because
how many white people know about the white people that are unjustly killed? How many white people know about the white people that are unjustly killed by police?
Nobody.
None.
Nobody.
The media doesn't cover it.
It's the media's fault, right?
No war is going to be started if they put that on the news.
No, the media is feeding the mouth of the lion. It wouldn't feed meat to an antelope.
Okay. So let's just say I agree 100% with what you just said. The media is feeding the mouth of the lion, right? So we all agree that no white people, let alone black people, no white people know about the white people that are unjustly being killed, right? Because of the media.
Other than the ones
not feeding that beast, right? Because the media is not feeding that beast, right?
Correct.
So what if the media was? What if the media was constantly feeding that shit? It happens more to white people than blacks. We agree, right? So what if white people started feeling like, well, damn, no. Let me paint the scenario. Because what if white people started feeling like, damn, every time I turn on social media, every time I turn on the TV, I gotta see one of my brethren being murdered by a cop, whether white or black. I gotta see my brethren being murdered by a cop, and I'm tired of cops getting off. You would feel fucked up. You might feel already after 10 years of that shit that you want to burn some shit down. So why are people acting like they don't know how to separate the two? Why are people just acting like, oh, black people or the BLM or whoever? BLM is a different story because we talk about them. But why are people acting like the average black person is just savages and just want to burn down shit? We're open emotional. If our president most black
people are savages, that's Biden that said that. That's not the normal person.
That's what I was saying earlier. Like, listen,
it's just as bothersome for me to watch George Floyd have his head.
Look, so there's a lot of talking points, and look, again, there's no president that's going to be anybody's savior. The difference between, at least for me personally, is most Trump supporters, and I think I've gotten a lot more out of Kenny now that we've started to do the show, but there are a lot of Trump supporters that if they support Trump, they have an issue critiquing him. I can vote for a Biden and be his number one critic at the same time. No, that's the difference. A lot of Trump supporters act like he's fucking God. They can't critique the guy.
Democrats, see, here's the thing. People on the left think that.
So you mean to tell me Democrats and Biden supporters are going to fly a Biden? Then no one's going to fly a Biden-Harris flag for the next 4 years, bro. No one's doing that.
Correct, because Biden's not.
That shit was like a cult.
No, because people that voted for Trump, like myself, when I voted for him, I didn't even think I'd get as good of a president as I got. In my opinion, I got the greatest president since Reagan. I'll have my Trump shit forever. I think Trump rocks. I can certainly be critical of him. There's lots of things I don't like about him. There's people who have Obama shit up in their house because he's the first black president. So for Trump, he's the first non-political real president that I've dealt with in my life that says he's going to do something, and you can critique how much of a wall he put up or how much he did of this, but he did a litany of stuff that there is no doubt that we could do a whole show on where he did way more than any president I've ever seen. And I've always wanted to see a president do that. And so for me, I'm okay if he loses to Biden. That's how it goes. If he loses to Biden, okay. So here we are with the Biden plan. But people that don't like Trump, they hate him. And I believe it's brainwash because they don't know him. How do you hate a man you don't even know? Just like I respect Trump as a president, but I don't love this dude. This ain't
I hear the shit. I hear the shit.
Obama.
I haven't talked to anybody that loves Biden. I just haven't.
I get it. MSNBC, CNN, that's all they do. They don't do anything that's pro-Biden.
There's a shit ton of Republicans that love Barack.
Yeah, I voted for him both times. Shit, and I'm fucking,
There you go.
I'm a registered Democrat.
Thank you,
That's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that the Democrats, they were not critical of Biden or of Obama. They weren't. Biden, we can't really say yet. He just, I mean,
well, hold on. I don't agree with that either. I think that there's a difference. I think the Democrats are definitely critical of Biden, especially black people. There's a lot more black people critical of him because not of Biden, of Obama, because Obama didn't do much for black people. He really didn't
do much at all.
He didn't do anything for black people. Look.
But they do not. For the LGBT they do not criticize Obama. There is way more Trump fans who criticize Trump.
I'm black, bro. I'm black. I'm black. My family's black. My parents, everybody's black. Everybody voted for Obama. We all sit today and talk about how he didn't do shit.
Not in front of white people. And if you're going to deny that,
of course not. We're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. Nope, we're not going to do that. And you know why? Because you want to just sweep 256 years of oppression under the rug. We're not going to do that in front of white people. We're not bashing black people in front of white people, and there's a specific reason for it that you just can't throw out the window because it's convenient to do it. Black people have been downtrodden. Black people have been portrayed a certain way in the media. Black people have been portrayed a certain way in newspapers. So we're not going to add to that at all around white people.
So how can you be this? How can you be so hypocritical to then blame people that like Trump and go, oh, they all love Trump? No, behind the scenes, Trump fans will say, man, I don't like this. I don't like this. I don't like this. But Trump is still the best that we've had. So I'm not going to go out there and bring up the negativity because people are going to go at it. That's all I'm saying.
Fair.
So, right, so hey, last topic.
Hey, that was good, Kenny. That was good. That's what this show is about. That's what this show is about. We got to the bottom. We got to some nuance. That was some nuanced shit right there.
And I think the psychology. This is the major issue, right? This is the major issue. The news.
And
the psychology of people matters. It matters. And I'm glad that we spoke about that because black people are Obama's worst critic, just not in front of white people, but there's a reason.
To be honest, Glenn, the only reason I actually know that is because, as you know, I'll put myself in situations where I'm the only white guy in the room. And once you get let in, there's certain things you can't really let out. But it's hard because you're on the outside going, I know y'all feel this way.
Hey, you had me in the hot seat right there, Kenny, and I had to tell the truth. We were his critic. We are his critic, but we will not criticize him in front of white people because we've been criticized by white for so long.
I wish we could have more of those because I do understand the why of that, right? Like I'm not naive to that. I get that. So
that was great.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the issues that separate left from right start with our news media outlets, which our next topic leads into. Where do we get the real news? If you listen to CNN, MSNBC, ABC, NBC, they're all going to tell you Trump did this, and this, and he's a racist. He did all negative. You listen to Fox, three of the news reporters on Fox, they're going to be on his side. The rest of the station obviously has switched gears. So where do we get the real news?
And let me start this one. The reason that I brought this up tonight when we were talking about what topics to hit on was because my daughter actually called me, and me and her disagree on a lot of things. Okay. But she asked me, she said, Dad,
most teenagers and dads, right?
I know, right? And especially when you're conservative, you're like, no, but hey, look,
you know, on the show, I know I don't seem like it, but I'm telling you, especially compared to the rest of my family, I'm conservative. My wife is a Democrat.
Not compared to your dad,
she's a Republican, but she's more so. She is. Look. People are looking at me like, motherfucker, you Mitt Romney.
So here's the thing. When she asked me that, I knew that, and it's my daughter. I don't want her to believe as I believe. I understand that when you're older, you become more conservative because you start going, oh, damn, the shit my grandma told me is ending up to be true. You know what I mean?
There's wisdom behind that.
All out myself, and now a lot of that stuff starts to make sense. So I understand everybody's got to walk their own path, but I want her to be able to learn. And the problem with Google and stuff is that you have so much information and there's so much nuance. They just give you one angle of the nuance. So what I figured I'd do, because I wanted both of your opinions on it, is I'll tell you guys what I do. And what I do, and I can try to show you this, But like when it came down to the election fraud stuff, instead of looking at any news source, the first thing I did was I said, what makes sense to me? And what makes sense to me is I want to see how many people voted in the last 4 elections so I can see if there's a statistical outlier or not. Now, once I figure out whether there is an outlier, then I can go on what I think it might be based on my life experience. And then I go to the news and see what the left is saying about the left and what the right, and what the left is saying about the right and what the right is saying about the left. And then I put those in and I go, does it line up with the data in the way that I'm reading it? It's very difficult. It takes a long time. That's why I didn't say a whole bunch of stuff about the election early on. A friend of mine called me and I was dead on with the states that let the early voting go first. I said, hey, Biden will be up to a big lead. Trump will come back. That happened. It happened in state after state after state. Once I saw the Miami-Dade number, because I've no elections, I knew Florida was over. Florida was over the minute Miami-Dade is 55 to 45 Democrat. Like, that ain't going to do it. You know, they rely on 70-30 or better in Miami-Dade.
Yeah, you need Miami-Dade and you need Broward. If you ain't getting those two. And
Broward is kind of, once you get Miami, then you need Broward. If you don't get Miami, you're in deep, deep trouble, because then you need
Broward's so big that, I mean.
And I used to live in Broward, for those people that know, and
yeah, it's huge.
I was only getting east of University, which is like downtown Lauderdale, all west, Weston, Plantation, those places are going to be Republican. Yep. So I think gathering data, you know, when I have the discussions on COVID, I always go to this, you know, the same thing that everybody sees each time I go to it, is this Worldometer. How did I find it? I kept Googling to try to find where the data is on input, and I ended up finding it. And they don't have news articles. It's just data. So I don't have to worry about swang of anything. Right. I look at the data first, and that's what I would encourage people to do, because I honestly don't know where to get the news. You know, Fox, everybody says Fox is Republican, but Fox, they did a survey on it. They said 48% positive Trump news against 52% negative. That's actually pretty middle of the road. CNN and MSNBC were like 90. Now people can go, well, he's just 90% bad. I'm sorry. I always ask myself this. Give 5 things that I respect about somebody, whether that be Obama, somebody that I disagree with. I got to be able to come up with 5 things, at least 3 strong things that I like that they did, or that I can respect them as a person. If I can't, it's a me problem, not a them problem. And then I should be able to do that for anybody that I disagree with. And so that's the only way that I feel like I can try to come to conclusions, because there's no way that you're going to be able to, you know, when you've lived the life that I've lived, where I've lived in North Carolina, I lived in Georgia, lived in Maryland, lived in Fort Lauderdale, lived in, you know, these different places, met different people through the Marine Corps, different people through Arundel High School, different people through football, semi-pro, all these different things. I'm gathering all this information, right? My business partners, the businesses that I've worked for, the businesses that I've done that have failed. And you're always going to go off your own personal stuff. You're going to believe that what you see is an average of the people around you. Sometimes it's not. But it's got to at least make sense, because you're not going to believe something that's way off of something you've never seen in your life, because you can't relate. But go ahead, Glenn. What you think, buddy?
Yeah, it's difficult. It is. It's difficult, especially trying to do this. And I think people, especially America, especially after the Trump administration, let's just be honest. Before Trump, at least me, I was still always, like, I guess, fact checking, if you will, the news before fact checking was a thing. I never 100% trusted the news. A lot of baby boomers really still get their information from Fox and CNN and use that as their number one and only source.
Actually, more, I see, like, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, the problem is on Snapchat, you go, and you might not even have Snapchat. If you go to Snapchat, every single
one is
very liberal, not a little bit, very liberal. You go to YouTube, the ads you get when you go to YouTube.
There was once upon a day when CNN, when the Desert Storm and Desert Shield came out, they was legit. Like, it was 24 news coverage that was just reporting news.
Yeah,
now
they were lying to us then too. They did the footage
of course,
where they did the whole bunker thing, and we was in the studio.
Right.
Like, I never later. And it made me a complete like how am I supposed to
nowadays, man, I don't know what to believe anymore. And it's just like, damn, man, I live in a country where I can't believe shit. I can't believe my government.
Really can't, man.
I can't believe my news source. And it's like, what the fuck?
Well, I don't really want to say you can't believe shit, but it is difficult. I know a lot of people use DuckDuckGo, like if you wanted to do some research, and as of right now, DuckDuckGo is truly unbiased, at least for now. It's always subject to change, but DuckDuckGo is really an unbiased internet source, or I guess Google,
search
engine that you can use to find information. And so I use DuckDuckGo a lot now, also. Because again, like we talked about earlier in this episode, psychology matters. So I will watch Fox News, or I will watch. In my opinion, I think
you use a lot of Twitter, right? I mean, to be fair, and sometimes
I go on Twitter just to see what people are actually saying, to think about, it's just to see the psychology. But in terms of news, like I'll try to watch what I deem probably to be the most right-wing show on Fox, and then I'll go and try to watch the most left-wing show on CNN.
I cannot watch Hannity.
Yeah, Hannity is rough to watch. Just like Don Lemon is rough. I can't say
right-wing.
I can't watch Don Lemon. I can't watch Hannity. I can't watch Ingram. I can't watch Cooper. But I can stomach Cuomo. I can stomach Tucker. Like I can do Cuomo and I can do Tucker. You know what I mean? Like I can stomach them. But like they're stomachable, so I try not to watch them when I'm actually doing research. I try to go to the Laura Ingraham or the Hannity, and I try to go to the Don Lemon, because I try to get that far left, and then I try to get that far right, and then bring it in with the research that I've done and my conclusions, digging through archives and using DuckDuckGo.
How do you stop that from? Because it happens to me too.
From tainting my...
All of a sudden, you're going to see a Republican and go, he thinks this and this and this from Hannity, right? Like I'm going to see a Democrat and I'm going, oh, okay, they think this, this, and this. And I got to be honest, I've been proven wrong on that. I mean, where I'm like, oh man, all liberals think this, this, and this. And then I'm like, what the hell?
Well, and likewise, and I've been proven wrong, thinking that, oh, this is what the right is thinking. And I think Kenny and I have kind of done that to each other. And it's a good thing, but Kenny and I are also, we're different individuals. And what I've really realized recently is the average American, whether you're Republican or Democrat, don't know shit. You don't. Most people don't do research at all. Most people see a meme on Facebook or Instagram. Yeah, most people see a meme on Facebook or Instagram and think because it's in bold print that's some sort of, news source outlet or some sort of viable information. It's just not. And you got to be careful too, because there are some memes that are really good that will serve your ideology, or that will kind of feed your ego or the way that you feel about a certain situation. And you just got to fact check stuff. And that's why, just like Kenny, I haven't said anything about the election either. I haven't posted anything or done anything like that. For one, we've gotten, there's been, especially over the past 4 years, there's been way too many people that have gotten that mud pie smeared in their face, said something too early, and it's come back to bite them in the ass. But not only that too, but I think that there's a level of immaturity.
If every vote matters. All I've said is if every vote matters, it shouldn't matter how many times we check it. Do it. And then when it finally comes out and it says, hey, look, you were wrong, throw the pie in his face and say you were wrong.
Here's one of the things that also bothers me when it comes to the news is they have fact checkers. And I would encourage everybody, I don't trust them. Don't look at fact checkers. Because I saw this one. There was a thing in Wisconsin that came out where people took pictures of the votes. The vote went 130 for Democrat and 0 for Republican. So people started calling that out. Hey, come on now, 130,000 in a row? That's a hell of a run. I don't care if you're running against Satan. Somebody's voting for Satan, right? So then you fact check it, and the fact check says, well, it's not true. The station came out and said that they made a mistake. Well, hold on. Then it was true. The station made a mistake. False means somebody doctored the shit up. You know what I mean? No, nobody doctored it up. The data, they say, was incorrect and was put incorrectly up on their screen. at their data center. There's a difference between that being false. Do you see what I'm saying? And that's where
so I mean, if you're reading the wrong data, like there was human error in terms of procuring
and then
the
you
data.
shared it. It's more important to say, hey, that person
that's not
says,
fraudulent. That's
correct.
That's like human error. That's a difference.
To me, I have a big problem if somebody takes something and says, hey, this is a fact, and then you find out you knew it wasn't true. Yeah. There was, this was clearly false. And so I would encourage people to try to look up that data, because sometimes you'll find that, like, even though they said that wasn't true, I'm like, well, show me in the voting where that's not true. And we'll see if that ever comes out. That was Wisconsin. But it was just funny to me that fact checkers dismissed it. And it's like, but then they said that it was wrong based on the actual data from the voting center. It's like, well, hold on a second.
Right.
That's not false. Like, this guy just made this up. This means the picture's legit. Like, so
you got to tell the whole story.
This is not, it's false. This is weed. And it's like, well, I bought it. It was real. This guy sold me some garbage. I think it's real. So
yeah, man, it is. It's a good question. Your daughter posed a good question. I mean, it kind of has both of us stumped here. I mean, I know we've named a few things and how we do it, but it also too, it depends on the topic that's at hand, because there's a lot of different. I mean, there's a lot of there's podcasts that are extremely accurate, that do a really good job. There's actually some podcasts that are better.
Do you want to know what I told her? Do you know what I told her? I told her to listen to Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
That's what I told her. Because I said, Joe will put his opinion out there, but he'll just interview people. Yeah. And it sucks because I think Spotify is trying to push him more in a direction. Now, luckily,
they're trying to push him like more in like a left sort of.
Yeah. But I trust Joe.
That's the trend.
Joe Rogan is a pretty like, hey, look, I'm going to do it my way, but $100 million is a lot of money. So, I hope he stays true to it. But
I mean, he's already wealthy. I mean, Tim Pool, not to say he doesn't need the money.
Went left or right, but Tim Pool is usually a pretty centralist guy. So I pointed out some podcasts I think she should listen to that are informative. I think she should read books by, what's the guy that's an atheist that always does his stuff about
not Hubbard. Not Hubbard. That's the Scientologist guy.
What's the real smart guy? He's been on Joe Rogan's show a couple times. I
keep wanting to say Shapiro, but he's on the right.
No, I can't remember this guy, but this guy
David Pakman
on the left. No, I don't. What? No, but Dawkins isn't bad. I mean,
Dawkins all right.
It doesn't matter. I just want her to learn to not care about the ideology as much as gather the information. Yeah, gather the information. I think on the right and the left, especially on the fringes, they do that way too much. They love Obama, they love Trump, and so nothing he can do is wrong. And they want to listen to Hannity, and they want to regurgitate, and then the other side wants to regurgitate, and you end up at an impasse when really, if you would just talk about what your personal ideals are, and then try to hold to it, because there's so many people now going, oh, this election, I can't believe he's delaying it, and they've delayed elections. So it's the same, it's the same thing with the Supreme Court, right? It's like, well, they tried to get the one in with Obama, but they didn't have the Senate, so they lost. So then and both sides are doing it, both sides, and that's stuff is going to stop. And my hope is that we don't turn away third-party people, because for so long we talked about how we do not want, we do not want the two-party system. And then I feel like we finally got a guy that really, again, 20 years from now, we're going to look back on Trump, and there's no way they're going to consider that guy a conservative. There's no way. He's anti-war, unless that becomes the new conservative party, because
I do feel like the conservative party is like maybe in a restructuring time period right now. I think both parties are, to be honest with you. I don't think that there's any solid Democratic ideology right now. And
there is essentially almost four parties, I feel like, right now. There's the left wing of the left wing party. There's just a regular.
Well, there's like the left, like the socialist progressives.
Yeah.
Then you've got like the kind of like the traditional Democrats. Then you've got
the right wing conservatives, to me, which is your Mitt Romneys, your establishment. Whether you want to call them, everybody wants to put everything on a graph or something, but you have your Mitt Romneys and
like you're kind of center Republicans. You're center
your
Republicans.
Your guys that have always been there. Your long-term guys. Those guys didn't like Trump either. And then you have people who are,
but not like your Dick Cheneys and things like that. Like you got to kind of separate those two. Like your.
To me, Dick Cheney, Mitt Romney's in the same bucket. To me,
you think they're in the same boat, really?
Yeah, I mean they're both very pro-war guys, this globalist, which is funny because it almost comes full circle. Because I think there's some establishment Democrats that are very close to establishment Republicans. There's not a big gap between your Clinton and your Romneys, your Clinton and your Dick Cheneys. Your Hillary Clinton and Dick Cheney are not that different. They're both very pro-war in the Middle East, interventionist, that kind of stuff. I'm not. I've gone far more. I'm pro-military, but I'm anti-war. So, that stuff. I've changed my ideals on a lot of that stuff because the more I've learned about it, I'm like, hold on, a lot of this is bullshit. Like we're really fighting.
Man, war is a business, man.
And that bothers me. Like that.
Yeah.
That really, because I love my brothers in the Marine Corps and being Veterans Day. I love my brothers in all the armed forces. And look, for anybody out there that doesn't get it, when I'm making fun of somebody in the Army for being a fat nasty, or Navy for being a fat nasty, or Air Force for being a guy in high heels, that is just what we do. Okay, that is just what we do. But I love those people. That's just, if you're in and you don't get that, I don't know what to tell you because that's how it's always been. Right?
They're always going to talk.
We can always make fun of each other, but don't no one outside make fun of one of us.
Yeah, they're going to call us stupid. I mean, that's just the nature of the beast. So
you're the crown eaters. It's all good.
Exactly. Go ahead and give me my crowns. I'll just go ahead and eat that.
The green ones are
good. I don't do that. That's the Navy. No, I'm kidding. Let's take us off. Is this live?
Yeah. All right, so let's go ahead and end this, wrap this thing up. Who wants to go first?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and kick us off.
All right, Glenn, go for it, brother.
All right, so appreciate you guys being with us, man. Thanks for hanging out. I know it's been a little while. I just had a newborn, so I've been a little MIA and dealing with that and being a dad. But again, definitely thanks for tuning in tonight. I just really wanted to touch on my closing statements by saying that in terms of Trump, Biden, I think that what most Americans were looking for, and I could be wrong, but I think that what most Americans were looking for was like that sense of genuineness or empathy. Like I know people have criticized Biden, including myself, and have said that even Biden's a racist as well too. And it's arguable. It's an arguable opinion, if you will. But but the one thing that Biden has working in his favor is that he's actually came out and he said, you know what, I've said things in the past and I've done things in the past that are racist or could be taken as racist or even offensive, and he not only has he apologized, but he's recognized his naiveness at that time and how much he's learned since then. Whether it's true or not, maybe it could be a line of bullshit, but it sounds good. It makes you feel good. We never got that from Trump. We just never got that moment of genuineness where he said, man, you know what? I understand how me saying this or lumping everybody in, calling people thugs or whatever the case may be, may make a certain people feel like this, or by me saying that Mexicans aren't bringing in their best people, just rapists and murderers, how that could be offensive. We just never got that moment of genuine clarity and empathy from Trump that I think would have really helped his cause and would have helped him win over more people. Just my opinion. But I'd love to hear you guys in the comments. Again, thanks for tuning in with us tonight. We're going to be back. So stick with us. And with that, I will leave you guys over to you, Kenny.
Thanks, brother. First of all, I want to congratulate Glennon had a little one, and there have been some situations there that have been tough. So, God bless him and his family. And I'm so glad to see that worked out well for him. At the end of the day, first of all, I just want to thank Trump. If he does end up losing the election, when the final things are all done out, I appreciate having a president that does stuff. Like for too long, I feel like presidents talked a whole bunch and didn't do anything. And it was just nice for me to have a president that just did stuff. The fact that he got so many more votes than he got last time, I think that's an indication that he did what the people that put him in there to do did. So I'm happy about that. At the end of the day, this is America. If the votes are cast and they're not in your favor and they're legitimate, you lose. If it's not in your favor, if they're in your favor, you win. I find it ironic that people say, let's come together now under Biden, the same people that have tried to be divisive for 4 years. I do think we should come together, though, because I'm not going to stoop to that same level. And I think Republicans did it the wrong way with Obama. I think people need to come together. We are the United States. We're going to have differences, but we need to talk about them. We need to stop pointing fingers at each other and saying you're a this ist or that ist or homophobic or heterophobic or whatever, all the terms. Don't be hateful, and let's not assume that other people are hateful. I think far too often media is going to try to convince you that somebody hates you in an effort to get you to hate somebody else. I can speak for myself. I don't hate you. I might know you and I might not know you, but either way, I don't hate you. I assure you, even if we don't politically align or even morally or ethically, I still don't hate you. I don't even know you. So I love this country. I'm so grateful to be protected by the veterans that are out there doing it now. I love my brothers and sisters in the military and all that they've done for us. I'm grateful for this show, and I'm grateful to be back. And hopefully we're going to hold whatever president is there, we're going to hold them accountable on this show. And we're going to have tough discussions. And hopefully as you guys share this, like this, subscribe, those types of things, we can continue to have good dialogue and answer the questions that you want to answer. And again, I'm just happy to be an American at this time. And don't let it get to you. If your guy loses, that's just a part of life. I'm a Dolphins fan, and even though we don't lose anymore because we got Tua, it is one of those things. Sometimes you win some and sometimes you lose some. So that's all I got for you tonight. Thanks again.
Yeah, so as my colleague said, man, hey, look, at the end of the day, we're the red, white, and blue. So it doesn't matter who's in charge. At the end of the day, you're still – look, grass is green, sky's blue, water's wet. Going to be that way for the rest of your life. The world keeps spinning. The sun's going to come up tomorrow. So you know what? Live your life, take care of your family, and be a respectable human being, all right? Treat others as you'd like to be treated. That's the way it is, all right? Hey, listen, no matter who wins, we got to live with one another. Let's just be cordial, keep it real with one another. Everybody be family. Hey, I love everybody. That's the way it should be. Black, white, green, red, yellow, doesn't matter, right? End of the day, red, white, and blue. All right, so hey, tune in next time we're on. Hey, we love you, America, and God bless, man. We'll see you again next time.